Hi, everyone. Welcome to Homespun, where creativity finds its voice. I am your host, Misty Doan, and today I'm joined by Nicola Walton, who shares her journey from fashion design to quilting, which led to her company Daisy and Grace and its unique approach to quilt as you go. Hello, everyone. I am joined today by Nicola Walton. Nicola, thank you so much for being here. I feel like most people would probably know you from your Quilt as You Go, at least here on this in the States. We love all your Quilt as You Go projects, but I know that there is more to your story, so I'm excited to get to talk to you today.
Thank you.
So, can you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background?
Yeah, well, I've sewn all my life. I Since the age of 5, I've had a sewing machine, so sewing is absolutely in my blood. And I actually went into fashion design. So I was a fashion designer here in London. Well, I'm not in London anymore, but I was a fashion designer in London for quite a few years, and then I went into quilting, and I love it. I wouldn't look back.
How did you make that jump from fashion into quilting?
Well, it was quite a long period. I came out of fashion design after I married my husband, Dave. We got married when we were older, and we went off traveling around the world for our honeymoon. And when I came back, I started doing part-time jobs because we wanted children, but we didn't get them. So, unfortunately, so this is my baby, and I went back into designing. So yeah, this Daisy and Grace is now my baby.
I love that. I love that. You know, it's good to have a passion and for something to
Yeah.
fulfill you. And you've certainly done amazing things with that. So, how did you come to Daisy and Grace? Because it's quite unique.
Oh, what, the name?
The name and your technique. I feel
Oh,
like both are quite
um,
unique. So,
well, I started. I joined a quilt group, and I was making lots of projects and putting fabrics together, and everyone was saying, "Well, where did you buy that? And where did you get that? And where did you buy those fabrics?" And then I suddenly realized that not everyone could do what I was doing. It's just my love of color and the way I put
mm,
things together. And then that's when I thought, actually, I'm doing something that people actually want to do. The
yeah.
name Daisy, yeah, and the name Daisy and Grace came from my two grandmothers. So my two grandmothers were Daisy and Grace, and they were such lovely women. So yeah, that's where the name came from. And the Quilt as You Go templates, I tried Quilt as You Go, and I didn't like the fact that you couldn't get the positioning of the wadding and the main fabric in the center so that you could get your bindings accurate. So it was just, I
Mhm.
wanted to make bigger projects, and so I just came up with this idea for this template, and that just went bananas. And it's
It
something that
certainly
anyone can
did.
do.
Uh,
Yeah, and
I love that. And the thing that I love about it especially is it's quite approachable whether you have a machine or you're wanting to stitch by hand. And I think that's quite unique in what we do. I mean, we you could do English paper piecing, but for Quilt as You Go to be able to have these shapes that you can sit and stitch without having to
yeah,
have a machine, although I admittedly prefer to do it by machine just because I'm not in the phase of life that I do a lot of hand stitching yet, but that's okay. My time will come. But I love
yeah.
the versatility of it.
And you can use hand sewing and machine together. So,
That's true.
if you start it by hand and then think, oh goodness, I've had enough now, you can then go on and stitch it together by machine. And also, it's space. I mean, if you've only got a small space, laying out a big quilt and then quilting it can be really quite daunting. But whereas you're making little mini quilts and then joining them together, it's just a bit more accessible for beginners and people who are really experienced. It's just a nice way to quilt.
I agree. Like I said, I think it's very unique in the approach, and I love. I don't know if you follow Missy, the little green bean, but she just has
Yes,
been working with your templates, and she's making the most beautiful quilt. And I'm like,
I
oh, it's
know.
reinvigorated my desire to play with all of the shapes and see what else I can
Yeah,
do. And I love that about quilting is that it feels like it's new every day. You know, there's so much
yeah.
possibility in what you can do. So very fun.
And the amount of variety that you get from one idea in your head, and then people run with it, and it's just like it still amazes me. It still gives me such joy when I see things from people, and I go, "Wow!" That's
Yeah.
like so exciting.
Absolutely. I know for me, like one of the things I love the most is when you put a design out into the world and then people make little changes or tweaks that you didn't even imagine that makes it so much better. And you're like, oh, this is the most magical thing to see this little idea kind of grow wings and fly in a bigger way than you ever dreamed.
Yeah, and inspire people to have a go and create their own ideas from it. It is really thrilling. It's such an amazing thing to be able to do.
Ah, I love that. So tell me a little bit more about your grandmas that your company is named for, because I have a soft place in my heart for grandmas. My grandma Sandy taught me how to quilt, and so I share her story as often as I can because she was an incredible woman, and I love that. I didn't realize, I guess, that we had that in common. That you learned from your grandmas and
Yeah,
you are honoring them through your business. So can you share about that?
yeah. Well, my two grandmas were really quite different. Grandma Daisy was the real creative one. She was a knitter. She sewed. She painted. She was really creative. And Nanny Grace, well, she was so glamorous. She would never do crafting at all. she used to get she
Really?
used to get my Yeah, Nanny Grace, she was very glamorous. She didn't like cooking. She was just like she was a diva, really, Nanny Grace. But
Quite
my
posh, as
mum
you
made
might
her
say over there.
yeah. Um, and my mum actually made a lot of her clothes for her as well, because mum made all loads of clothes for me as well. So my mum
Wow.
was my main. Yeah, mum, we we didn't have an awful lot growing up, so mum made all our clothes, and so that was really great, and that inspired me really in the clothes making side. And I've actually taught my mum how to quilt, so it's gone full circle. It's really
I
amazing. Mum never
love
quilted,
that.
yeah,
And
and
now
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 she
you've
quit.
brought her into the fold.
Yeah, she loves it. She's always doing something. She creates so many quilts. It's unbelievable, and it's really lovely that it's gone full circle. And I've taught
That
her quilting. So
yeah, that's really special. What a fun thing and what a way to stay connected to what is obviously a rich heritage in your family of creativity. I
yeah,
love that you I love that your grandma was just not about it. I think there's something really empowering for knowing who you are and just being like,
yeah,
that's not for me, but also being able to
yeah,
appreciate it because obviously she wasn't above any sort of craft. She was willing to wear what I'm sure are beautiful clothes that your mom made for her. So I think that's
yeah.
really wonderful. She obviously could still appreciate it even if it wasn't for
Oh
her.
yeah. Oh no, my granddad was quite disappointed because my nanny Daisy never made any. She didn't bake, so my granddad used to come to us to get my mum's cakes all the time.
For all the treats, huh? That's so sweet. Well, I was just gonna say, did your mom's garment sewing that she did early on when she made clothing for you, is that what kind of interested you in fashion design?
I think it was because I was always seeing mum at the sewing machine sewing and making garments and things. So I think I was just emulating her with wanting a sewing machine, which I got very young, and then making dolls' clothes and things like that. And then I just really love making my own clothes as a teenager. At school, I was known for, if there was a party going on, I'd run something up in the afternoon to go to a party. So I was always known at school that I wondered what I'd be wearing, you know.
I love that. Do you still make clothes now?
Not as much, no, but I really would love to, because yeah, no, I just don't get the time, which is so infuriating. But then I'm doing quilting, so. But yeah, occasionally
Yeah.
I made a lovely dress the other year and stuff, so I do try, but not as much.
The skill is still there. I understand that too, because when I first started sewing, my grandma, when I was very young, she made all my clothes, all my little dresses and outfits. I was
Oh,
very lucky to have beautiful clothes made by my mom and grandma, and so same thing. When I first started sewing with her, it was doll clothes, right? That was
yeah,
my first, you know, attempt at the sewing machine. And even after she passed, because we didn't have a lot of time quilting, she got sick with cancer, and I had a
oh,
beautiful about a year and a half where I would help her sew on her quilts. But that I didn't want to come back to quilting for a long time because of that, because it was with her.
yeah,
And
yeah,
but I still would alter my clothes or add a ruffle or or do things like that with my sewing machine because I learned those skills from my grandma.
yeah,
And I was thinking about it recently. It's been a long time since I made any type of clothing, but it's probably time to brush off those
yeah.
skills a bit.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's something so nice when you go out and you've got something on that you've made. It's like, woo,
you've
you
made
feel
it
so
and it
much,
fits you. It fits your
and
body.
it's
I think that's a
special.
yes, absolutely. Well, and the other thing that I've noticed in my life, and maybe you can speak to this too, is that when I take time to create adjacently, right, whether it's making
Yeah,
clothing or doing embroidery or, we've done bead making and arranging flowers, all these things that are beautiful creative projects, they always sort of reinvigorate me in my career.
yeah.
So in designing for quilting. So do you have anything like that that sort of fills you up when you need a new idea or encouragement to keep going?
I still play with fabrics, to be honest. When I like my sewing mojo walks out the door, I think, oh. So I tend to do a lot of crumb quilting, or I do
Mm.
embroidery. So it's quite fabric related. But recently I've started doing a lot more painting and drawing and things. So that's been really cool. That's really got me going on creating other things as well. So, but yeah, when I that creative spark goes a bit, I do just play with fabrics,
Mm.
and I get some amazing happy accidents.
Yeah, I love that. It's a good reminder to all of us, right, to not take it too seriously. I think especially if you
Yeah,
get in the middle of a project that maybe isn't going well or isn't going how you anticipated, it's easy to get frustrated and kind of lose the joy of the making,
yeah,
but it should be fun. And I say that all the time. I'm like, we're not, performing brain surgery here. This is a fun creative hobby, and if it's frustrating, it's probably time to step away for a moment, and then when we
yeah,
come back with fresh eyes, we'll be ready to go again.
exactly. Yeah, and as adults, we should play. We don't
Yeah.
play as adults, do we? And
Mm.
I find sewing a form of play. It's just
Mm.
releases me, and yeah, I love sewing. It's been my life, and always will be. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
and
think
what a
that's it's so special, right? To be able to have a creative practice. And I think for those of us who have made it a priority in our lives, we realize the benefit, and that's why we want to share it, right? It's like, no, this
exactly.
is this is such a joyful, like soul-filling part of my life. And
Yeah,
I can completely relate to that. And it always, like, for me, I like to sew, but the design part is my absolute love. The what happens when I put this shape here? How do these colors look together? That's what
yeah,
gets me so excited. And the sewing is like the means to seeing that creativity come to life, right? Which I enjoy,
Yeah,
but it's not the act. I don't love the sitting at the machine. I know. Everyone will think I'm crazy because I do a lot of that, but I love the teaching and I love the design. That part fills me
yeah,
up every time. And
I
it's just so important, like you said, to remember to play,
yeah,
because it really
I
is
find it
fun what
all.
we get to do.
Yeah, I find it all in one. Really, I love being seeing something in my head, get
Mm.
creating it with the fabrics. So part of the sewing, I get what you're saying. It's not your favorite bit,
Yeah.
but for me, I just find that it's such a part of the whole
Oh,
experience that
absolutely. It
I
absolutely
can't
is.
detach it. It's yeah, it's still that is part of the fun for me as well. I do love sitting at the sewing machine and just sewing. I,
Well, and
so,
and, and the part that I love too is like, even when because I'll design a lot of things digitally, right? And sometimes
yeah,
I think I know how it's going to go, but when I sit down at the machine and actually work with the fabric, that's where, oh my gosh, this little miracle happened. And I can actually get more blocks than I realized, And so it's definitely a beautiful part of the process. And I don't take it for granted. But there are sometimes, once I've like figured out that block design, for example, that I'm like, oh, now I'm just sewing. I'm just sewing. I
yeah.
want to play more. It starts to feel
What the
like work.
result?
Yeah, I want the result. That's exactly it.
Yeah. See, I don't do designing digitally at all, so it's
Mm,
all gone on in my head, and then I create it on paper or through fabric. So
through fabric.
I never I never know until it's done until it's
I
done
love
done.
that. That's exactly how
So,
Jenny is too. She's the same way. She just grabs her fabric and starts to play, which I totally admire. That is just, it doesn't work for me. I'll just look at that pile of fabric forever and not know where to begin. Oh,
but isn't that
it's
amazing that there's so many different ways that we end up at the same point? It's like
oh,
it is
absolutely.
so fun.
Well, and that's part of why I like having these conversations, because I think it's really easy to compare ourselves to other people and think maybe we're not doing it right, or maybe we need to change up our process, but it's a good reminder to understand that we all do it differently. There is no
Yeah,
right way to approach it. There's no right way to approach design, because it's your way. And I think that's
yeah,
really a beautiful thing. And it just goes to show, I mean, like you said earlier, Nicola, when you're in this quilting group and you had done some quilt as you go and you realize that other people weren't seeing it the same way that you were. And I think that
mm,
that's true, right? Everybody has a different talent that they bring to the table. Jenny talks a lot
yeah,
about how her talent is not color. And so she relies on designers. She relies on, friends who are really good with color to help, guide her. And
yeah,
I think it's really beautiful to be able to acknowledge and say, you know what, that's not my strength, but this person has got it.
mm,
And to be able to work together. And I feel that way about your Quilt as you go, because for me, until I saw your shapes, Quilt as you go was not my thing, because it felt almost too limiting. Because all the versions I had seen, it was like, oh, you make your sandwich and you just sew your thing and you add it to the thing, and there's no play, right?
yeah,
You don't get to you
yeah,
don't have as much creativity. And so then having your shapes that are completed but individual, and you can still, you know, move them around and get your own unique thing. I was like, whew, this is amazing. Never would have thought of it, but what a gift to all of
yeah.
us that we get to use it in our work.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So,
But I love the fact that because all of the shapes have got the same, I use the same binding on all of them,
mm,
that they integrate together. So if I'd
exactly.
started out and had different shaped bindings, it just would have been a complete mess. So I'm pleased that
Mm.
I started out the way I did, and it's grown and more templates have been added. And yeah, I just can't believe the things that you can create now. It's just like, oh,
It's
it's,
it's
and
it's
I've not
definitely magical.
I've not got bored with it yet either. So like
Right.
10 years down the line, I'm still not bored with it, So
Isn't
yeah,
that amazing? I mean, people ask me all the time. I teach a lot of quilt tutorials. I'm constantly designing. And so you've been, what did you say, 9 or 10 years now? I think
yeah,
I've been teaching seven, seven, so not quite as long as you. But I used to think early on that I would run out of ideas, that somehow I would
yeah,
get bored or that I wouldn't have anything left. And that has so far, knock on wood, not been the case for me. I think when you make this creative habit, it it fills you up, and it just inspires new ideas. And I think
mm,
that's the same as what you're saying. And it's so exciting to be able to do something that challenges you and fulfills
mm,
you creatively, excuse me. So
yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just getting excited about thinking about things that I'm going to be doing, and actually I'm not going to turn my head off yet. My head hasn't finished. There's still loads in
Right.
there waiting to be come out and be born and go into the world. But I think the day I stop that, the day my head doesn't have new ideas and things, I think that's the time Daisy and Grace has to go to bed.
Right,
Time for
right. Well,
sleep.
exactly. But you haven't seen it yet, so I don't think that's
No,
I don't think that's coming anytime soon. So can you
no.
share a little bit about any new ideas that you have in the works or anything you're excited about that's coming up?
Well, there there's something very exciting happening at the moment. I'm actually working with a company to create my own fabrics. So that's
Wonderful.
so that's really exciting. That's just in the initial stages. It's gone to the creative team and they're just fine tuning the design. So that's really exciting. So that's coming. Not yet. That'll be
Wonderful.
a couple of years down the line, I think, because of the time scales with meals and things. So that's really exciting. Um, I'm here in the UK. I'm doing really well on a TV channel here called Create and Craft. So I'm bringing lots of new things to that. And what am I working on at the moment? Well, it's something I've had for a little while, and it sort of harks back to the beginning of our interview. But it's like a doll's house doll thing.
Fun.
So yeah, but it's not Quilty Go, but it's still a sewing thing, and it's lovely. And I've been doing some more jewellery. Oh, it's just so exciting. So yeah, so much going
There,
on.
I love that. I love that so much, and I love that you're getting to connect. Can you tell me a little bit about how the quilting world differs in the UK compared to the US? Is
Well,
it
in the
still like
UK, there's
vibrant?
not
Do
as
you have
many
a
of
lot of
us.
shops? Okay, there's not.
No,
Okay.
no. In the UK, there's not as many quilters as in America. There aren't as many quilt shops. A lot disappeared during COVID. There are a
Mm.
few shops still around, but they're few and far between. A lot of it has gone online, like my store is online. Um, Although I've moved house and I'm in the countryside, you never know. There may be a Daisy and Grace shop coming, but we'll cross that
Ooh,
bridge when we come to it. That won't be
I
that's not anytime soon.
but maybe. But hey, I would love that. That would give me another reason to come visit.
Exactly. Yes, we
Yes.
need to come to England, because the more
Uh,
people that come and enthuse the quilting world here, the better, because there are a lot of younger quilters coming up and as well, which is great, because we're we're getting older. We need younger people
nah.
to take up the like
We certainly
yourself.
don't want it to go away, right? Yeah, I think that's so
No.
important. And Jenny talks a lot about that, about how important it is to share what you know with the younger generation. Otherwise, it dies with us,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And I think that's a great reminder that you're bringing up, that we need to be willing to share. We need to be willing to let people learn, because sometimes it can be frustrating if you've been doing it for a while, if it's just not clicking. for a newbie, but we want them to be excited and to feel welcomed and to continue on this beautiful craft, right?
Yeah,
I certainly don't want it to end with
definitely.
me. So hopefully more generations will continue. So
Yes.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you would share, maybe to someone who is just starting out or wants to make the leap um, into sharing their ideas with the world?
Well, sharing their ideas, be brave. Um, it's not going to be easy, as you know. It's not going to be easy, but have the faith inside you that you're and believe in yourself. You know, believe that actually what you want to produce is different, and that there will people like you that will love what you're doing. I never believed that people would love what I was doing, and look at me now. So you got to have the
Yeah.
faith in yourself, and if it doesn't work the first time, try try a different like try something new in quilting or sewing, you know, but try not to give up, because it does take a while. It doesn't come overnight. um it was about 3 years for me before, I suddenly thought, oh, actually this could be a proper business. And yeah, you've just got to persevere, have faith, and be excited about what you're doing, because if you're excited, somebody else will be excited.
Absolutely. That enthusiasm always shines through, right? And people can
Yeah,
tell if you're genuinely interested or if you're just punching
if
the
it's
time
just a
card,
job.
so to speak.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
Nicola, I truly appreciate sitting down and talking to you. I appreciate your
thank you.
wonderful enthusiasm for what you do. I think it's definitely contagious, and you can see that as people have tried the templates and have played and shared what they're doing. I think it's really cool to watch. And I truly
Yeah,
appreciate you being here and sharing a little bit
thank
more
you.
about your story. And so hopefully
Lovely,
we'll get to
thank
see
you.
each other soon in England, I hope.
Yes, yes. Come
Yes, for
over.
sure. I would love that. All right.
Yeah,
I will talk to you soon. Thank you, Nicola. Oh, one more thing before I forget.
yeah.
Can you remind everyone where to find you on social media if they want to follow
Oh,
along with what you're up to?
it's I'm on Instagram. I think it. Oh, I can't remember my Instagram. Maybe we can put a little link to my on Instagram. I've got YouTube videos teaching Quilt as you go as well. So there's a YouTube channel, Daisy and Grace. Um, and and if you're on Facebook, come and join Daisy and Grace Quilters on Facebook, because you can see some amazing work on there. Amazing.
Wonderful. Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.